Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, April 8th, 2021 Kern County Planning Commission hearing. The clerk will please call the roll.
Mr. Ashley?
Here.
Mr. Judge? Mr. McGivney?
Here.
Ms. Skidmore?
Here.
Mr. Sprague?
Here.
Mr. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Simon? Ms. Slayton?
Here. The County of Kern provided notice that as a result of the declared federal, state, and local emergencies due to COVID-19 pandemic, and in light of the governor's order, this Kern County Planning Commission meeting is not physically open to the public. Testimony and general public comment are accepted via email or voice message to the clerk of the commission prior to tonight's meeting, and live comments via teleconference will be held during the meeting. If you are interested in providing comments on any agenda item and have not received direction how to do so, please contact the clerk at 661-496-7487. We will begin tonight's meeting with commission member announcements or reports. Seeing none.
Madam Chair, I got something in the email regarding a loss by Rick Judd's family. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. Well, our condolences to the family.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
We hope our fellow commissioner is okay. We will now move on to approval of the minutes of March 25th, 2021.
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All ayes?
Aye.
Aye. Item number D, cases withdrawn or request for continuance. I will pass this over to Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Tonight we have two cases that are being withdrawn or requested for continuance. The first is case number 4. This is SPA 159, map 500. Our applicant is Fred Porter by Porter and Associates. The staff recommendation is to continue that project until April 22nd, 2021. The second item is case number 5. I would note there's a typo on the corrected agenda. It should actually say number 5, not number 4. This is ZM map number 7, map number 10123, vesting tentative track map number 7162. Our applicant is Gregory Weaver by McIntosh and Associates. The staff recommendation is to continue that project to your April 22nd, 2021 Planning Commission. That completes the reading of the items that are withdrawn or been requested for continuance.
Do we need a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to continue both items 4 and 5, as read into the record by staff.
We have a motion on number 4 and number 5.
A second.
In a second. All ayes?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, do you want to open? We can. Okay, we'll open the votes.
So 4 ayes and, wait. Mr. Sprague?
Mr.
I said
Sprague,
aye.
Go ahead and we're doing a vote. We're doing a vote on the
Oh.
screen. Sorry.
Okay.
That was my error.
You said
4
all
ayes, 1 absent.
There we go. Now we have official. Item number D. Consent items. I will again pass this over to Mr. Murphy.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. These are items which are scheduled before your commission, which are being recommended for approval by staff, and the applicant has been informed of any special conditions and has no objection. The hearing on these items may be expedited if no member of the commission or audience wishes to comment or ask any questions on the case. This evening we have 3 cases that are on the consent calendar. However, I would note for case number 1, we did receive a letter requesting that item be pulled from the consent calendar. So we will actually have a staff pulled item number 1 from the consent calendar, and we will recommend that be heard in its regular order. That would leave us with 2 remaining items on the consent calendar, cases number 2 and cases number 3. The first item, case number 2, this is CUP number 17, map number 117. This is the Johi Ranch Mining Project by Diatom LLC by WZI. This project is located on the north and south sides of State Route 58, approximately 8.5 miles west of the unincorporated community of McKittrick. The specific request before your commission is a conditional use permit that would allow a surface mining operations and development of a reclamation plan on 93.67 acres of an approximately 331 acre project site in accordance with the Surface Mining and Reclamation Act of 1975. The staff recommendation is to certify the environmental impact report, adopt the section 15091 findings of fact and section 15093 statement of overriding considerations, adopt a mitigation measure monitoring program, approving the conditional use permit subject to the recommended conditions, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in your draft resolution. The next item on consent is case number 3. This is zone change case number 17, map 160, zone variance case number 3, map 160, tentative parcel map number 12364. Our applicant is the Willow Avenue Investments LLC by Diversified Project Services International, Inc. This project is located at 13068 Copus Road. This is in the Mettler area. There are 3 actions before your commission this evening. The first is a change of zone classification from A1 to A, or a more restrictive district, on 10.13 acres. The second is zone variance to allow a 17.40 acre parcel in a designated remainder where 20 acres is the requirement in an A district. And the third action is vesting tentative parcel map number 12364 that proposes to divide the just over 175 acre site into 5 parcels. They would all range in size from 20.32 acres to 169.49 acres, and that does include a 17.40 acre designated remainder. The applicant is also requesting development variations to the land division ordinance to allow the deferral of additional dedications along section and midsection lines located within the A district. The staff recommendation is to advise your commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors to approve the zone change, the zone variance, and the vesting tentative parcel map with the approval of the following development variations. The first would be A, the north boundary of parcel 5, B, the east and south boundary of parcel 4, C, the south and west boundary of the designated remainder, and D, the west boundary of parcel 2, where Old River Road is off-site. And then staff is recommending your commission deny the request for the deferral of dedication along Old River Road, all in accordance with the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. That completes the reading of the consent calendar tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. So for consent items, we have number 2 and number 3. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve items number 2 and 3 is read into the record by staff if there are no objections from any other commissioners or the virtual audience.
I'll second.
And do we have any public comment on either of those?
Madam Chair, no, there are not.
No public comment. Great. Okay, so we have a first and a second. We
What?
will,
Madam Chair, point of order.
yes, of course.
Do we have to also include the continuance on item number 1? On this order, that we do need to do that separately?
Item number 1 is being pulled from consent. We'll hear that next, and it'll be separate.
Okay, thank you.
NG. Great. So we have the vote roll on our screens.
4 ayes, 1 absent.
Mr. Murphy, are there any notice of appeals, of right to appeal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is. This is case number 2. Case number 2, which is the conditional use permit. For projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. That appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department, located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms that we have available at the department and that are located on our website. That filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing.
Thank you. We are now on item F, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on any matter not on this agenda and over which the commission has jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Madam Clerk, are there any public presentation speakers?
Madam Chair, no, there are not.
Great. Item G, we are now on, we are on the item number 1, consent item number 1 that was pulled off. And we will go to Ms. Slayton to give us our presentation.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The project before your commission is the AVEP Solar Project by Chaparral Solar LLC and Rabbit Brush Solar LLC. This case was originally scheduled to be considered by your commission on March 11th, but continued to tonight's hearing to allow staff sufficient time to prepare and distribute the required response to comments on the draft environmental impact report. The proposed project consists of 2 solar facilities that will generate a total of approximate 250 megawatts with 2,000 megawatt hours of energy storage capacity, located approximately 5.5 miles west of the unincorporated community of Roseman, within the boundaries of the Willow Springs specific plan. As shown on this aerial map, the project consists of two individual, non-contiguous facilities: the westernmost Rabbit Brush Solar Site and the eastern Chaparral Solar Site. Together, these sites total approximately 1,406 acres of privately owned land. Residential dwellings are scattered around the perimeter of the project site and are located at various distances from the project boundary. While 5 of the sensitive receptors are located within 175 feet of the project, the remaining dwelling structures are at distances ranging from 480 to 3,100 feet from the project site boundary. The actions before your commission tonight include 3 specific plan amendments to the Willow Springs specific plan to remove the 4.4 comprehensive planning area map code designation, 3 zone change cases to change the base zoning from the E estate to A exclusive agricultural zone district, 3 conditional use permits to allow for the construction and operation of the 2 solar photovoltaic electrical generating facilities within 3 separate zone maps, an additional 2 conditional use permits to allow for the construction and operation of communication towers, 1 for each proposed solar facility, and finally 3 specific plan amendments to the circulation element of the Willow Springs specific plan to eliminate section and midsection line road reservations, which would no longer be necessary with implementation of the project. As part of the overall project, vacations of existing public access easements are also being proposed. However, because your commission has no jurisdiction over the public easements, no action or recommendation is required from you regarding these vacations tonight and will be recommended to the Board of Supervisors. A complete listing of the requested actions has been provided on pages 5 and 6 of your staff report. If approved, as mentioned, this project would include authorization to construct 2 125 megawatt commercial solar power generating facilities for a total combined 250 megawatts, and associated infrastructure such as battery storage facilities, transmission lines, operation and maintenance facilities at each site. An environmental impact report was prepared for this project in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and circulated for a 45-day public review period. Staff received 9 written comments from individuals or agencies during the 45-day review period, and an additional 5 comment letters after the circulation of the public review period. As required by CEQA, responses to these comments were prepared by staff and distributed at least 10 days prior to consideration of this project before tonight's hearing. After circulation of that response to comments document, additional comments from the Defenders of Wildlife were received by staff yesterday and this afternoon, which have been provided to you tonight. Staff also received more than 190 letters of support for the project from various organizations and several community members. These comments have been provided to your commission as attachments to the staff report. Last, during the course of processing this request, we notified all affected agencies, county departments, and property owners within 1,000 feet of the project area, and as a result of that notification, we received 2 comment letters, one from the County Fire Department and the other from Kern County Public Works Department, floodplain section. These comments have also been provided to your commission as attachments to the staff report. The final EIR consists of 7 volumes which have been provided to your commission and posted on the Planning Department's website. Pages 8 through 11 of your staff report provide a summary of the environmental determinations included within the EIR. The final EIR contains 50 mitigation measures to reduce project and cumulative impacts associated with the project. The proposed mitigation monitoring program, listing all of the required mitigation measures, has been attached to your staff report as Exhibit C for your review. While most of the project impacts can be reduced to less than significant levels with implementation of the required mitigation measures, staff has determined that implementation of the project would result in significant and unavoidable project and cumulative level impacts to aesthetics and cumulative impacts to air quality associated with temporary construction activities, cumulative impacts to biological resources for the loss of foraging and nesting habitat, and cumulative impacts to wildfire due to the project's rural location and limited infrastructure. As I noted earlier, the project has proposed 50 mitigation measures to reduce identified significant impacts to the extent feasible. At this time, I'd like to highlight just a few of those mitigation measures. Aesthetics mitigation measures have been incorporated to reduce the impacts of trash and debris on the site by implementation of a maintenance, trash abatement, and pest management program. Also, mitigation has been incorporated that would soften the visual impacts of the project by requiring natural vegetation remain undisturbed unless mowing is necessary for placement of project facilities, view screening material where the project borders residential uses, and requiring all project facilities have a non-glossy finish and color that blend with the natural landscape. Additional mitigation has been required that will reduce impacts from light, glare, and reflective equipment. Several air quality mitigation measures will be required, such as compliance with rules and regulations set forth by the Eastern Kern Air Pollution Control District, compliance measures during construction and operation to control fugitive dust, including a comprehensive grading plan to reduce dust and wind erosion, adherence to diesel emission reduction measures during construction, and a construction coordinator who will ensure proper noticing and respond to complaints during construction activities. A few of the biological mitigation measures include requiring focused botanical surveys to determine presence or absence of special status and protected species on the site, measures for the protection of Mojave ground squirrel and desert tortoise, construction monitoring by a qualified biologist, and implementation of an environmental awareness training and education program, the limitation of disturbance area to the extent feasible, pre-construction surveys, implementation of general avoidance and protective measures, and measures to be taken if special status species are observed on the project site. Noise mitigation measures are in place to ensure construction and decommissioning activities are conducted in compliance with the county's noise control ordinance and protects noise-sensitive receptors. Notification to all residences within 1,000 feet of the project site of any on-site construction activities is to be provided, and a sign be posted at the site which includes the same details as the notification. A noise disturbance coordinator is required to be established who will be responsible for responding to any construction noise complaints. So as I previously mentioned, staff did receive 9 comment letters during circulation of the environmental impact report and 5 after the comment period. A summary of all those comments and responses are included in pages 21 through 24 of your staff report. The main concern expressed in the comment letters received yesterday and today that have been provided to you tonight were related to impacts to biological resources, particularly the Swainson's hawk. Defenders of Wildlife stated that numerous renewable energy projects have been developed within the Antelope Valley in recent years and has contributed to an ongoing cumulative loss of fragmentation of wildlife habitat. Defenders expressed concern that the EIR lacks an adequate discussion of how the cumulative loss has specifically impacted regional special status species and recommended a regional study of the cumulative loss and fragmentation of wildlife habitat be completed and effective mitigation measures be identified to be applied to the proposed project and subsequent projects in the Antelope Valley. Staff notes that the EIR identifies the setting, including species, and discloses planned, existing, and permitted renewable energy projects, among other projects in the region, and concludes that cumulative impacts of the proposed project to transient species, including burrowing owls, Swainson's hawk, and others, would be significant and unavoidable for the loss of foraging or nesting habitat, and requires implementation of several mitigation measures in an effort to mitigate those impacts. CEQA does not require a separate regional analysis of effects of existing projects to analyze the cumulative impact of an individual project. Rather, the cumulative analysis is to include a discussion of the incremental effect and in not as great of detail as the project alone. The development of a regional conservation plan for the Antelope Valley is beyond the scope of the project and not an appropriate approach for addressing site-specific biological impacts associated with the proposed project. Defenders recognizes that adequate mitigation measures have been included for many of the special status species found on site, but the project does not fully mitigate for Swainson's hawk because foraging habitat within 5 miles of nests that have been active in the past 5 years would be lost without compensatory mitigation, and recommends that at least a 2-to-1 habitat protected to habitat loss compensation be required, and further urges the county to end the practice of dismissing the ongoing cumulative loss due to all solar projects and requests that a greater 3-to-1 compensation mitigation be considered. Staff's response is that the proposed project site represents a small percentage of available Swainson's hawk foraging habitat and does not contain Joshua tree woodland or preferred current forage ground cover type, is not actively farmed or adjacent irrigated agricultural areas that are preferred for foraging, and the closest nest tree was found about 2 miles from the project site. According to the Biological Resources Technical Report, areas on the project site, particularly in the eastern portion of the Chaparral facility, have been degraded by evidence of heavy grazing. The project and its surrounding desert scrub and grassland habitat are not the current preferred foraging habitat of the Swainson's hawk. Therefore, it is not likely that the project would result in a loss of foraging habitat, and compensatory mitigation for foraging habitat is not necessary. However, I again note that the EIR does conclude the project's cumulative impact to biological resources, including the loss of foraging or nesting habitat, is considered to be significant and unavoidable, and requires implementation of several mitigation measures to mitigate impacts to the biological resources. Mitigation implemented to specifically reduce impacts to Swainson's hawk and their habitat include biological monitoring by an authorized biologist to oversee compliance with protective measures for all listed and other special status species. The lead biologist shall be on site at all times during grading and construction activities. This lead biologist shall also develop and present an environmental awareness training to all workers at the project site, intended to inform workers of the wildlife and plant species that may be encountered during construction activities and the legal protection status of each species and the measures implemented to protect these species. Another mitigation measure includes avoidance and protection of biological resources to be accomplished by limiting the area of disturbance to the extent possible and staking or flagging to avoid natural resources where possible. Pre-construction clearance surveys are to be conducted within 14 days of the start of any clearing or grading activities, and if special status species are observed on the project site, a buffer will be established by the qualified biologist that results in sufficient avoidance for the species found. Pre-construction surveys of special status plants and the establishment of avoidance areas if found. If avoidance cannot be accomplished, the project proponent shall consult with the California Fish and Wildlife to initiate consultation to obtain necessary incidental take permit authorizations or evidence that such permit is not required. A qualified wildlife biologist is to conduct a pre-construction survey of all potential nesting habitat within the project site for construction activities initiated during the bird and raptor breeding season. Raptor surveys shall focus on potential nests within a 1/2 mile buffer around the project site, and Swainson hawk nest surveys shall focus on potential nest sites within a 5-mile buffer of the project site. If active nests are found and no disturbance buffer shall be established, including a 200 to 300 foot buffer for common raptors and 1/2 mile for Swainson hawk nest sites. Additionally, power lines installed are to conform with the Avian Power Line Interaction Committee standards for electrocution reducing and collision reducing techniques. And last, the project operator is to develop a Joshua tree preservation plan that at a minimum identifies methods to be utilized to comply with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife Endangered Species Act take requirements and compensatory mitigation related to the protection of the mitigation of impacted Joshua tree, and to provide to the county documentation of the take authorization. Last, I would like to note that the project applicant has entered into a voluntary agreement with both the National and Kern Audubon Societies to benefit nesting and foraging of Swainson hawk in the Antelope Valley through support and funding for the development of a conservation plan and conservation fund. The conservation plan will set forth strategies to maintain or increase the population of the Swainson's hawk, and the conservation fund will support landowner stewardship programs or the acquisition of conservation easements to lands identified in the plan that support the Swainson's hawk. And as previously stated, the project is subject to mitigation requirements under Fish and Game Commission's emergency take regulations adopted for solar energy projects. Therefore, mitigation for loss of Joshua tree as potential future nesting trees would occur as required by the Fish and Wildlife. So as you've been made aware for previous energy projects, Section 53091 of the California State Government Code provides certain limited exemptions from local building and zoning ordinances for certain projects by public agencies, including but not limited to cities and counties, related to electrical energy, among other uses. Utility companies regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission have specific exemptions for transmission lines and other generating facilities. So attached to your staff report tonight, under the Memorandum of Understanding section, is a copy of draft agreements, one for each of the proposed facility, stating that if for any reason these facilities were ever sold to a jurisdiction not subject to our local codes or ordinances, that these facilities would continue to adhere to our local provisions, including those mitigation requirements contained within the EIR, should this project be approved. If your commission recommends the Board of Supervisors approve the project as a recommended condition of approval, consideration and processing of these two agreements before the Board of Supervisors will be required before the issuance of any building or grading permit. So staff has reviewed this project in its entirety and has determined that it is consistent with the California Renewable Portfolio Standard that requires investor-owned utilities increase the sale of electricity produced by renewable energy sources to 60% by the year 2030 and 100% by 2045. The proposed project is consistent with the adopted goals of the county to develop renewable energy from wind and solar facilities. The project will allow for the usage of existing infrastructure, specifically off-site substations and gen-tie lines associated with the previously permitted Willow Springs Solar and North Rosamond Solar projects. And it is the opinion of staff that the project is sited in a location favorable to the development of a solar project, as available access exists and there's a lack of dense urban development. The project is consistent with the goals and policies of the Kern County General Plan and Willow Springs Specific Plan, and staff believes your commissions can make all the required findings necessary to approve the requested conditional use permits. The on-site construction force for the project is expected to peak at 946 individuals. However, the average daily workforce is expected to be 688 on-site during construction. The operational phase of the project will require up to 20 full-time equivalent personnel. So therefore, the department recommendation for this project is to advise the Planning Commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors to certify the environmental impact report, adopt the Section 15091 findings of fact and Section 15093 statement of overriding considerations, adopt the mitigation measure monitoring program, approve the specific plan amendments to map code designations of the Willow Springs specific plan as requested, approve the zone changes as requested, approve the conditional use permits subject to conditions, approve the amendment to the circulation element of the Willow Springs specific plan as requested, approve the memorandum of understanding and recommend the Board of Supervisors chairman to sign, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolutions. This completes staff's presentation, and I am aware that the project applicant, Mr. Mark Osterholt, is online to present as well.
Thank you, Ms. Slayton. Impressive staff report. Madam Clerk, do we want to hear from the applicant?
Madam Chair, before we go to that real quickly, I do have one clarification to your recommendation. It has always been our practice that the MOU is considered directly by the Board of Supervisors, so we make you aware that an MOU will be required. However, that specific action is subject to the Board of Supervisors. So while I agree with the recommendation, I would just strike out the recommendation related to the MOU specifically.
Thank you. We can hear from the applicant now.
Madam Chair, Mark Osterholt is on the line. Mark, if you could please dial *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
Good evening, Chairman Skidmore and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Mark Osterholt, and I'm the Director of Project Development for the AVEP Solar Project. We had a presentation. Is it being shown?
One moment, we're getting that loaded. Okay, yes, we can see it now.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Okay, thanks. So I want to take a moment to thank Director Oviatt and the planning staff for their efforts in completing the EIR and recommending approval of the project in their staff report. So I've brought with me today a team of experts who are prepared to address your questions, and we ask that we're provided time to address questions or issues that are discussed during the public comment section as well. So today I'll discuss how the AVEP project, well sited, will create jobs and economic benefits to Kern County. And I want to thank the Planning Commission for hearing our project permit request today and respectfully request your approval. So before I discuss the AVEP project, I want to let you know that we're now proudly a part of Leeward Renewable Energy, a leading US-based renewable power company who, as of March, acquired the first solar development team and project portfolio. And because the team members are moving over to Leeward along with the project, the same team members will continue to represent AVEP Solar LLC and continue to manage development of the project. Leeward is also planning to not only develop and construct, but will also own, manage, and operate AVEP. You can go to the next slide, please.
Please proceed.
Please, next slide, please. Although we're now under a new company, this team is no stranger to developing projects in Kern County. Our team has developed projects in California for over a decade and is one of the leaders in the state with about 4,000 megawatts serving California, including 19 power plants in operation today. This includes 5 projects that were developed here in Kern County and have been in operation since 2015. We're excited to collaborate again with Kern County on the AVEP project. Next slide, please. So you've already heard the basics of the project from the planning staff, but what I want to emphasize is that this is a very viable project. In fact, Rabbit Brush facility is already has a power purchase agreement with Central Coast Community Energy and Silicon Valley Energy for 100 megawatts. The Chaparral facility is also being actively marketed. Construction on the Rabbit Brush project is expected to begin later this year, and operations will begin in mid-2022. Can you go to the next slide, please? Actually, one more slide. One more, please. So the most important message I want to communicate today is that the AVEP project, which is outlined in green on the next slide on the map, is very well sited, as it's virtually surrounded by existing and approved renewable generation projects. And additionally, it'll utilize existing transmission lines. Also of note is that the project is located west of 100th Street and away from Rosamond's more concentrated residential areas. You skipped the slide there. As far as economic benefits, AVEP will bring significant jobs and economic benefits to Kern County. In fact, 2 of the AVEP facilities will create approximately 300 construction jobs on average, contributing to a trained solar workforce long-term. This project is committed to hiring qualified local labor, and based on information provided by IBEW, First Solar projects have already created over 800 jobs just for the Kern County residing IBEW workers. And lastly, AVEP will generate millions in taxes and fees that will be paid to the county. In closing, we believe AVEP is an excellent addition to Kern County's growing renewable energy portfolio. Project is well sited, will generate significant benefits for the county with minimal impacts, and has broad support from a variety of stakeholders in the community. It's for these reasons that we respectfully request the commission approve the project. I'd like to thank you for your time and would now be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osterholt. Commissioner Sprague, did you want to ask a
I'll
question?
wait till
Okay,
all the testimony is taken.
thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any other public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, yes, there are. Erica Zolezi, please dial *6 on your phone to unmute your line.
Can you guys hear me? Hello.
Yes, yes, we can. Please.
Hi, I'm not providing comment. I'm with the applicant team. But thank you.
Thank you so much.
With that, actually, let's give the rest of the applicant team a chance to speak if they would like. I'll read their names, and if they wish to speak, please dial *6 on your phone and state your name and spell your last name for the record. Beth Hoffman, David Lazerwitz, and Carl Koschwitz. Okay, hearing none, shall we move on to the public comment portion? The first speaker on the line is Gary George. Please dial *6 on your phone to unmute your line.
Gary George, *6.
I did. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. This is Gary George from the National Audubon Society. The AVEP LLCs have entered into an agreement with National Audubon Society and Kern Audubon Society to support the conservation fund for Swinton Park in the Antelope Valley, which other solar companies have also supported. This contribution is not mitigation. It's not in lieu of mitigation. It's voluntary by the company. We support First Solar and AVEP parties' contribution, which will also help develop a conservation plan for the hawk in the Antelope Valley, which we hope Kern County will eventually support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, before we continue, you've seen me get up a couple of times. So I know that the addendum letter that we got from Mr. Tom Egan, he's left us a voice message, which we'll be happy to play. My guess is that he didn't quite understand how if he wanted to provide his comments directly. So if you could just read the phone number, this will allow us to continue going through our public process. But if Mr. Egan wants to provide verbal comment during the meeting, he needs to contact this number, and then we will then direct him how he can call in so that he can provide his verbal comments. But if you could just read that one more time in case he is watching this meeting.
The number is 661-496-7487.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then we'll just continue with our public processing. He did leave a voice message, so we will have a voice message that we'll be able to play if he doesn't get this, but we'll kind of continue from there.
Thank you.
The next speaker is John Spalding. John, please dial *6 on your phone to unmute your line.
Mr. Spalding, star 6.
On.
We can hear you. Please proceed.
I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Okay. My name is John Spalding, John, Spaulding. I am representing the Kern, Indiana, and Monroe County Buildings and Construction Trades Council and its 6,000 members. We are in strong support of the staff recommendation to approve the two projects before you. There has been an extensive environmental review of these projects, and we believe that they should have your approval. These projects will provide an opportunity for the men and women of Kern County to live and work in our county. They could provide a pathway to a construction career through an apprenticeship program if they so choose. These projects will also provide an opportunity for a career as we are facing a curtailment in the oil and gas industry. First Solar has committed to local labor for their projects and will ensure that the money earned will stay here. We are asking that you support your staff's recommendation to approve the projects and recommend to the Board of Supervisors to approve the environmental impact report for the Chaparral Solar and Rabbit Brush Solar projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding.
Madam Chair, Linda Parker is next. Ms. Parker, if you could dial star 6 and provide your comments.
Ms. Parker, star 6. Ms. Parker, make sure your phone is not on mute as well. Star 6 done.
Ms. Parker, if you could dial star 6 and provide your comment.
Ms. Parker, star
Hey,
6.
Hello?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Hello?
can hear you.
Okay, so I'm sorry about that. I was on mute. Okay, my name is Linda Parker, and I greatly appreciate you hearing this evening. I have been in the solar industry for a very long time. I do want to convey to the commissioners and to Madam Chair, this is a very well-cited solar project. As you can see in your staff report, we have almost 200 letters of support, not only from the community, the chamber, local folks in the area. We greatly believe that this is a very well-cited project, and we would hope that you would support this this project this evening. So we greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Parker.
Madam Chair, the next caller on the line is Tom Egan. Tom, can you please dial star 6 on your phone to unmute your line?
Folks in the area, we greatly believe that this is a very well-cited project, and we would hope that you would support this this project this evening. So we greatly appreciate it.
Mr. Egan, can you please mute the volume on whatever device you're using to watch the commission's hearing? We can hear what's going on there with the delay.
Okay, I did mute it.
Mr. Egan, we can hear you. Please state your name and proceed.
Hello, my name is Tom Egan. I'm the California Desert Representative for Defenders of Wildlife. You've provided comments on the draft environmental impact report prepared for the proposed AVEP solar project. Defenders recommends that Kern County end its practice of dismissing the ongoing cumulative loss of natural habitat for Swainson's hawk in the Antelope Valley and require that all nesting and foraging habitat loss within a 5-mile radius of large-scale solar energy projects be compensated at a minimum ratio of 2 acres acquired, protected, and managed for the species for each acre lost. 2 to 1. This is what the California Department of Fish and Wildlife has recommended
for the previous 11 years. I might add, in these past 11 years, I just completed a study that documented over 17,856 acres of Swainson hawk foraging habitat has been lost in the Antelope Valley, specifically as a result of permitted solar energy generation projects. Potential nesting habitat for this small raptor population, estimated as a subset of affected suitable vegetation lost to renewable energy, totals over 5,740 acres. Correspondingly, compensatory mitigation habitat has only been required for 3 out of 12 projects, and those at less than a 1-to-1 ratio. No such mitigation has proposed for this project, and we request that this issue be resolved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Egan.
Madam Chair, that concludes the callers online to speak live publicly, and we will now play the voice messages that we have received.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is David Metz. I'm a local member of Local 433 out of the city of Los Angeles, but I'm a lifelong Kern County resident. My name is David, D-A-V-I-D-M-E-T-Z. I'm in favor of the project at Rabbit Brush because, like I said, I'm a lifelong resident. Is work closer to my family, also for the locals. Also, that job will help me to provide for my family and my bills. So I'm just calling to say I'm in favor of this project. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, hi, my name is Robert Cisneros, R-O-B-E-R-T-C-I-S-N-E-R-O-S. I'm speaking on behalf of the Agenda 1, the AVEP, Chaparral, and Rabbit Brush Solar Project, and I just want to let you know that I'm fully in support of this project. I'm from the Antelope Valley, been a resident there for over 25 years, and this, I believe this project will help out a lot of local hires, put a lot of local people to work. I'm in full support of this project, not only for the work for this area, but also people that are looking for work. It'll put a lot of people to work. I'm full support of this, and I hope you see it and pass it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Hi, this is for support of consent number 1, the AVEP Rabbit Brush Solar Project. I'd like to put this on the record. This is Johnny Kanji, Johnnny, Kanji, C-A-N-G-E-Y. I'm the business agent for the Iron Workers Local 433. Just within the last 5 to 6 years, I know the Iron Workers have given career opportunities for about 350 people right now from the Kern County and Antelope Valley community. You know, we have partnered up with Cerro Coso Community College and Ridgecrest, Tehachapi High School, Antelope Valley College, the charter school up in the Antelope Valley Youth Field, American Job Center of California, Federal Conservation Camp for the formerly incarcerated. We were able to give opportunities for a career, and that provides a mortgage-paying salary with health benefits and a retirement, only because of the solar projects that have continued to progress in the Kern County and Antelope Valley region. You know, just again, I'm 100% support projects. Would love to bring in more people from the community, give them a career opportunity, and that's what these projects would do. I know this is a pretty large-scale project, and I could honestly say it looks like we could probably give 50 to 100 more people from the community that career opportunity. Again, I am in support for the AVEP and Rabbit Brush Solar Project. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me. Again, Johnny Kanji, business agent for the Iron Workers Local 433. Thank you very much. Bye.
Good evening, Chair Skidmore and fellow commissioners. My name is Richard Chapman, R-I-C-H-A-R-D, C-H-A-P-M-A-N, the President and CEO of the Kern Economic Development Corporation, and I'm calling in to support the AVEP solar project, which is agenda item CA number 1. Please play this message only if the item is taken off consent. Kern EDC's mission is to cultivate and promote Kern County's balanced opportunities for business, and we're proud to promote the region as the energy capital of the U.S. The Rabbit Brush and Chaparral facilities will create approximately 250 megawatts of energy, as well as provide up to 300 local construction jobs, as well as indirect and induced employment. And these jobs are critical during these times. Indeed, February's unemployment rate is approximately 11%. In addition, the project will inject millions of dollars into the local state economy. Thanks again for your time and consideration.
Timothy Slade, Timothy, Slade. I'm calling on behalf on the agenda number 1 for the solar projects of Rabbit Brush and Chaparral. I am a local 433 iron worker. I live in the area, and I've been stuck out near Blythe, which is about 4 hours away, and I heard these projects were coming up, and I would definitely love if they pulled through. It's where I live, it's where I plan on raising my family, and it's where I shop and eat and sleep. So, you know, it's just something that would be beneficial to the community and beneficial for myself and everybody in the union, and it's a major project that would definitely be a lot of help to a lot of people. So thank you for your time and consideration. Have a good one.
Hello, hi, my name is Brian Rosby. First name B-R-Y-A-N, last name Rosby, R-O-S-B-Y. I'm working for Local 433. I'm in support of Agenda 1 on Avenue P, on the Chaparral, and the Rabbit Brush Solar Project. And I am in support, and I'm leaving a 2-minute message. My name is Brian Rosby, iron worker from Local 433, book number 1242721. I've been an iron worker since 1996, and these solar projects have really put food on my table for my family. I drive down to LA a lot to build up the buildings down there, and since I've been an iron worker, I've got my son to be an iron worker, and it supports a lot of people in the Antelope Valley, and a lot of people that live out here. I'm in support of this project. Thank you very much, Brian Rosby.
Hi, my name is Frederick James Wisnicki, Frederick James, V like in Victor, Iszneki. I am calling in support of agenda number 1, the Rabbit Brush Solar Project on Avenue P in Chaparral. I've been an iron worker for 40-some years. I've lived in the Antelope Valley, Kern County for the last 12 years. Many days I had to drive to LA and Orange County because we had no food. I was never attending my son's baseball games. Solar industry up in the Kern County has afforded me in the last 6 years to be able to stay home and be more of a father to my family. I would appreciate it if you guys would approve the Rabbit Brush Chaparral Solar Project that's coming up. Thank you very much, and I hope that we get this in favor of all the workers that live up there, so we're not on the freeway at 3 in the morning getting home at 9 at night to feed our families. We want to shop and stay in our community and spend our money in our community. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Madam Chair, that concludes the voice messages that were left for this item.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I will return it back to commissioners for questions or comments. I believe Commissioner Sprague had his name on the board earlier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have reviewed this project, all the material that was submitted in our package, and I find it adequate as well as the EIR. It's well cited. It's very, very beneficial to Kern County and to the state. And I find it was written adequately and therefore totally support the project. I would refer back to the rest of the commissioners for comments, and then I would be prepared to make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Sprague. Commissioner McGiffney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for staff. Just to clarify, has a survey for the Swainson's Hawk been made in that area as of now, before the project? I know there's supposed to be a survey once construction begins or just before construction begins. So I just want to be clear if there has been any detection of the hawk or not.
Commissioner McGiffney, through the chair, as was presented when we did our biological assessment, a survey was conducted. I believe, Ms. Slayton, it was approximately 5 miles was where the closest nest was located. 2 miles where the closest nest was located during that initial survey. The project applicant, again, will be required to resurvey the site prior to make sure that we are not creating any impacts based on construction specifically. But yes, we did have appropriate surveys done in accordance with preparation of this environmental analysis.
So it's one nest 2 miles away is what you discovered?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct, and if I can add that the nest that was found was not active.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. I wasn't clear on that one. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Ashley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also have reviewed the project materials and specifically the biological mitigation. I think the mitigation is adequate. I think the survey effort was adequate, and then there's the added protection, as Mr. McGiffney found out, that pre-construction survey will also occur, and at that time, if there are Swainson's hawks discovered, then that there are other actions written into the plan that would require the applicant to follow that path. And so I'm also in support of this. It meets California's plan for renewable energy going forward, and it's a great spot. Provides jobs that are much needed out there in the Antelope Valley for our local trade union, so I'm in support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Ashley. I just want to commend Ms. Slayton and her team for a great staff report and a great presentation this evening. I as well have reviewed the numerous pages here and attachments, numerous comment letters. I appreciate the Audubon Society for chiming in again this evening in support of the project. And I would like to entertain a motion if anyone is ready.
Madam Chair, I would make this motion based on the material presented to this dais and the commissioners, and in total support of this project. And my motion would read, as read into the record by staff, the recommendation of the Board of the Supervisors regarding this project to approve it, as well as striking the MOU from our purview and passing it along to the Board of Supervisors, which is within their purview on the MOU, and look for support from the rest of the commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Sprague. We have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
And we have a second.
Four ayes, one absent.
Thank you. We are now on to item H, adjournment of the meeting. The next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for April 22nd of 2021.
Motion.
Second, all ayes?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
provide Navy and Marine commanders with a broad